To order the Monday, January 4th meeting of the Verona Plan Commission, and we will begin with the roll call. Mr. Sayre, please.
Commissioner Manley,
Here.
Alderperson Linder,
Here.
Mayor Hokumer,
Here.
Commissioner Horsfall, Commissioner Lytle, Commissioner Heinzen is absent and excused.
We do have a quorum, so we will proceed. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the December 7th meeting of the Plan Commission. Those minutes were included with your packet. What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Horsfall. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carried and the minutes are approved. Next, we have discussion and possible action regarding extraterritorial certified survey map to create one lot at 2101 Sugar River Road in the town of Verona. Mr. Sayre, if you would, please.
The proposed CSM would create one lot approximately 1 mile from the city's boundaries. It is located within the city's ETJ review area. No additional new lots are being created as part of this. The applicant is merely just combining two parcels into one parcel. By ordinance, the city has to review it because it is within our area. Our code requires, in general, all lots in the ETJ area to be a minimum of 35 acres in size. This lot does meet that requirement. Further, there is an exemption that if it does not create any additional buildable lots, we can approve it. This CSM does not create any additional buildable lots. So that staff recommends that the Plan Commission recommend the Common Council approval of the ETJ CSM to create one lot at 2101 Sugar River Road.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Are there any questions, comments, or any potential motions at this point? Mr. Linder?
I'll move approval as Mr. Sayre presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder to recommend approval. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Lytle. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor of approval or recommending approval to the council signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Next, we're on agenda item number 5, which is discussion regarding amendments to the city's zoning ordinance related to public notification. Again, Mr. Sayre, if you would, please.
So at the last meeting, we talked about the public hearing notification requirements for properties. And in the last meeting, we talked initially about the current 200-foot notification requirement that we do for conditional use permits, plan unit developments, and rezonings. I think in general, just trying to summarize that meeting, the Plan Commission was generally comfortable with that. I was directed to kind of take a look at some of our options that we have out there. One of those being notification signs that we could place on properties, and the second of taking a look at the city's website and seeing what else we could do from a technology standpoint to increase notification. We have added some additional features to the website. We've added this development projects link on the webpage. That's a link that will take people off to look at projects that are pending for the Plan Commission and also projects that we've approved as well. That's a list of approved projects that I try to take them off as soon as the project's completed, but that is on the website. The second thing that we did was we added to this Notify Me feature a link where people can sign up to be notified of development projects. So we have a link here that says you can sign up to receive news and updates of development projects. So as things come in and Plan Commission is reviewing or staff is reviewing, I'll post those through the news flash feature here, and people will get an email notification saying whichever project has been added to the website, and then if need be after meetings we can also do updates on those as well too. So it's something I won't do for every project, but for larger ones that I think generate interest from people, I'll selectively, I guess, kind of handle those. I think, for example, the CSM tonight, it's not going to go on the website, but larger projects that have a greater interest or I'm getting phone calls on, I'll put it on there, and we'll also run this news flash where people will automatically get updated for that. I also, in looking at the notification process, I did stop by the City of Oconomowoc, and a copy of their ordinances actually was included in the packet. They do require public notification for public hearings that in the city. Their signs they use are 2x2. This is actually the sign right here. I can I'll show that in 1 second. This is a 2x2 sign. They reuse it for all their projects. It's reusable. Costs about $15 a piece. The comments I got from staff in Oconomowoc was that a greater number of people attend the meetings now and speak because there's greater notification. So it does increase public awareness of projects, obviously. The downside they have is that it's a pain to install. Their staff installs it, and especially in the winter, they've lost a few of them over time, so it is kind of a hassle putting them in the ground. But what they asked me to point out as well, too, is they do have significant fewer public hearings than Verona has. So we average about 20, 25 a year. They're about half that, if that now. So there is a balance to that as well. City of Madison, I also spoke with a staff member at Madison today. They have signs, yellow signs, kind of similar to this. Their signs are 2x3. What they do is they fill in the blanks on the sign. There's a public meeting on this date. You fill it in, project name, developer contact information, and they hand those off to the developer and say, here, you install them in the ground. So Madison currently does that as well too. We also have, on the screen in front of you, we also have a notification sign that we require as part of our multifamily phasing policy. This is the sign that was placed in Scenic Ridge. If you recall, a few months ago, we renewed the conditional use permit for this project, and as a condition of approval, we required them to place a sign on the property that meets the requirements of that phasing policy. This is a 32 square foot sign. It costs the developer approximately $526. So these are a little more pricey. But obviously you have a picture of the project on there. It's tailored specifically towards that project itself. So I think back to this sign, what I can do here is, once again, this is 2x2. This is what Oconomowoc uses. I'll walk back about 30 feet, 33 feet, and that's kind of the sense of if you're driving down the road on a typical residential street that's 66 feet wide, that's approximately how far it is away. So I guess I'll just show that to the Plan Commission so you can kind of gauge of if you're driving in your car, approximately, Andy can't see me, but approximately here, from where the mayor is sitting, I guess Commissioner Lytle, you're a little closer, but this is approximately how it will look from the street. So that's basically what Oconomowoc uses for all their notification processes. They reuse these every time they have a public notification on a property. So with that's all I had. I'm looking for feedback tonight on what your thoughts on the sign. I'll pass this around. It's made of plastic type material. Holds up pretty well with the weather, but obviously on a windy night there's going to be issues.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Are there any questions or any feedback from Plan Commission members? I would just, I'd start, Adam, by saying I think that the notification on the website is a really good step. And for people that are really interested, certainly they can sign up for that, and we should do as good of a job as we can to get that message out that that is an option that is available for them. Other feedback? Mr. Manley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the sign seems like it could be a good idea, especially if Oconomowoc has found that it has boosted public participation at $15 a piece and being reusable. If we could generate more public participation, I think that's a good thing. I don't think that having red lettering against a yellow background is a particularly legible way to go. I don't know, I guess it seems okay at this distance, but when Adam was standing further back, I had a hard time reading that. So I'd maybe think about trying to maybe not cram quite as much information on the sign, because it seems like it's difficult to read that much, especially at distance and if you're driving in a vehicle. But I think if you could get the general point across that there's a public hearing scheduled related to this property and contact City Hall for additional information, I think that'd be really a good idea. Maybe blaze orange with black lettering or something like that.
Thank you. Other feedback? Mr. Horsfall, please.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Manley. With limiting the amount of information on there, you know how the realtors have those kind of tripods that they set their open house thing on?
Oh.
Is there something like, so you're not having to try to put something on the ground that,
Mr. Sarah?
The A-frame type
Yeah.
sandwich board signs, that's an option too. Another option with these types of signs is you could just put the posts into a bucket,
oh yeah,
a bucket of sand or concrete, and just have the public works guys just drop them off on the property too. I mean, I think it is a challenge to stick whatever into the ground, especially one, you don't know what you're potentially hammering into, but second thing is obvious in the winter months is tough.
So the other question I had is, what's the most number of public hearings have we had at a meeting? 15?
Most in a year, you said? or-
No, in one meeting.
In one meeting?
one meeting.
We've had 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
I know
so-
Oconomowoc, what they said was they bought about 15 or 20 of these
Oh, okay.
initially. And initially they had the wire sticking in these. They lost about a third of them immediately because the wind took them right away.
Mm.
But we'd probably have to buy 10 or 15 right away, I would think.
Okay.
Depending obviously on price point of when you get a better deal.
Maybe an idea would be is have the kids make them in one of the grade schools as part of a art project.
Mr. Lytle?
Does it have to be?
Wanted to make sure Jeff was done with any of his bright ideas before I said anything. Adam, do you track, or do you have the ability to track how many people have signed up through the website for notifications?
I do, yes. So we have that on the backside, so we can go in and log in and look and see how many people have signed up to receive any type of notification feature we have. So we have their name, we have some cases for phone number, we also have their email address.
Off the top of your head, have you checked yet? Okay.
I know the notification function, that's pretty new. Last time I checked, we had about 5 or 6 people.
Right.
I think for the plan commission meetings, I want to say we have 50 or 60 people signed up for that.
Okay.
So it's a fair number. I'm not sure if
Mr. Burns, please?
I was just going to add that the city's electronic newsletter was sent out today, and that included some information on
Yeah.
that, so hopefully we'll get some more people that know it's out there.
Good. Yeah, I think I agree with what the other commissioners had to say in terms of if we can take steps that aren't a drag from a budget standpoint or from a staff time standpoint to reduce the number of times people say, well, I drive by that property every day for the last 20 years and I had no idea anything was happening there, just because they either own a business or don't live within the notification. It seems like a pretty easy way to take that extra step without committing to a bunch of additional work. Are there any concerns in terms of how we codify this, that there are other types of public hearings that the city then would be on the hook for doing additional notifications, or are these discrete enough that we can fence them off in terms of signage?
Mr. Sarah?
You can just spell out which ones you want to have the notification on it. So I think we'd be looking at conditional use permits, planned unit developments, and rezonings. I know Madison requires notification for demolition. I don't think we want to do that, but I mean you could spell it out however which way you wanted to. But I would think those 3 are the big ones here. For the site plan review process, there's no public hearing, so it just kind of gets left to what it is.
I guess I was more curious. I thought we would do these if there was going to be a public hearing, and not in cases where there wouldn't be a public hearing anyway. But then I was curious as to Bill or the mayor, whether you guys are aware of alcohol licenses. Are there public hearings for those that other committees suddenly people might start asking questions in terms of, well, why didn't you notify, put a sign in front of the business for their alcohol license up for renewal or something?
Mr. Sarah?
Yeah, the only comment I can make is we can use discretion on what we choose we want to use it for, just because statute says we have to notify people within 200, we have to provide notification, but it doesn't spell out that you have to do a sign. In essence, this is above and beyond what is required by statute. So if we want to do it for alcohol licensing, we could potentially do that, but we'd have, excuse me, we have to amend the ordinance to do that as well too. I think with this, from a zoning and land use standpoint, we can clearly spell that out. I'm not sure if Mr. Burns has any comments beyond that.
Mr. Burns?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that we could limit it to items related to subdivision and zoning and public hearings for those items and not require it for other ones. You know, again, I think we'd have the option if we want to start doing that for some other ones, but I don't think it would be required to.
Thank you. Mr. Sayre?
We could also word the sign if need be. We could say it's a land use application, or we could spell it out in some way that it's clearly noted that it's, and that one's, I don't think that one is, but you could spell it out in a way that you could make sure it's specifically tailored towards land use, not towards any other type of public notices we're required to have.
Mr. Linder?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good idea. We've had people here saying, "Oh, I didn't know about it till so told me about it and stuff." I think that could help. I think the size of the sign is good. I do like the, initially I was thinking have the developer do it, but I kind of like the bucket idea. You know, that's probably pretty simple. You don't have to throw anything in the ground. I agree. I think that could be a problem. But in general, I think it's a good idea.
Any other comments? Mr. Horsfall?
So are we gonna have a amendment to the ordinance, is like Oconomowoc? Is that what you plan on doing, or?
Mr. Sayre?
So what I'll probably do is I'll see if I can get something turned around for a public hearing at the next meeting that we can have and look at and review. We would have to amend the ordinance, I think similar to what Oconomowoc has. The Oconomowoc one is based slightly upon what Madison has as well too, so it's been tried and tested as well. So I'll come back with something similar with that though, but the ordinance is not gonna spell out the size of the sign. It's going to be general enough just to say it has to be done, but it's not going to get specifically into the details of the sign itself.
So we'll have a public notice for a public notice? Put it right outside.
Any other questions or comments? We're not taking any action on this evening. Not seeing any. Anything, Adam or Bill, anyone want to announce before we adjourn? Mr. Burns, please.
Yeah, just wanted to let everyone know that there will be a ribbon cutting for the Fairfield Inn tomorrow at 1 p.m. So they'll be getting very close to opening.
Thanks, Bill. Mr. Sayre?
We also do have a CARPC meeting next Thursday for our urban service area application in this room. So if you're interested, you're more than welcome to attend. It also will hopefully be broadcast on our YouTube channel as well.
When is that again?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
7, is it 7 p.m.? Yep, Bill said yes, 7 p.m. Okay, we have no other action before us except adjournment this evening. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Horsfall. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you.